Well, here we are, Puysegur Point. Guys, what a day. This trip has been a long time incubating. I remember flying off a beach strip in Preservation Inlet called Spit Island around 1985. We flew around Puysegur Point and along the south coast. I recall being absolutely fascinated with the huge viaducts we saw in the bush leading to Port Craig. Looking on the map, the distance from Puysegur to Tuatapere is about 100 kilometres in a straight line. We are probably going to walk much more than that. After driving through some pretty heavy rain showers, we arrived in Tuatapere about 3:30 p.m. We called Dale Green of My Way Helicopters. He could fly us into Puysegur at 6:30 tonight. This sounded pretty good to us. No messing around, gear in the machine, and 6:20 p.m. off west in light drizzle. Round the corner and into Big River, where we landed on the west bank and dropped off food supplies for our return journey. Dale then flew up Lake Hakapoa, that's the lake that feeds into Big River, for about 3 kilometres, then west through a low saddle towards Kiwi Lake, more or less our intended route. Sid and Blue were sitting in the front getting a good look, as they are going to do most of the navigation on our return. Blue Horton, our seasoned mariner, stepped up and took responsibility for sorting out a window of good weather for our trip. No pressure, Blue. He determined that a high-pressure system with following good weather was approaching from the south, and we should start on Tuesday the 19th of November. Packs out, Dale off, and suddenly we're standing in the quietness looking at one another, wondering what the heck we have let ourselves in for. This is the moment of truth, and we are committed to walking out or pushing the button on the EPIRB. Here we have Puysegur Point lighthouse, parked up on the ridge. Hanging on there. Well, here we are, Puysegur Point. Guys, what a day. What a day. Patches of sunlight.
Yeah, last of the sun.
A zephyr breeze blowing. Wreck that Blue found. Last year's horn, this year's cast antler of the enormous red stag of the southern fjords. Great stuff. Nearly as thick as my thumb.
Yeah, that one there's a spiker.
Is it? Okay.
They must have had a house here, surely.
Oh, yeah, well, the lighthouse.
Yeah, we could catch them at the point there.
Yeah, chase them. Still, you see them? Right?
Yep. Bit of the local history.
Then it was back to the landing shed to contemplate the job ahead. It is a good, comfortable abode, dry, good pot-belly stove, plenty of wood, bunks of sorts, the odd rat running about, Sid plotting tomorrow's track on his GPS in the candlelight, and hit the pit about 11 p.m. That is the easy stuff done. Tomorrow begins a serious walk. Call it day one. Here we are, about 3/4 of an hour from leaving boat landing, and we're trekking along pretty well at the minute. It was early on that we saw a kaka in the trees. I think it must have been attracted to the bright orange jacket that Blue was wearing, as it followed us for some time, until we met up with the old tram line, which is a wide man-made logging mining track, following a southeasterly direction towards the Wilson River. We followed this for about 2 to 3 kilometres, then it was time to cut due east towards a point called the Knobs, a small bush-clad hill sticking up out of the bush. Our destination is forks of the Wilson River. With Sid's spot-on navigation, we bushwhacked into the site about 6 p.m. The bush is wet, the ground is sodden, and there is a light rain falling. We cut fern and small bushes to put down to keep the tents out of the waterline, pitched our tents, then stretched a tarpaulin over the tents. Failed to light a fire as everything is so dripping wet. Heated up our dehydrated food, blew up our fancy air mattresses and into a good dry sleeping bag with the rain pelting down on the tarp for most of the night. Now we're 8 o'clock in the morning and we're breaking camp and we're heading east. The weather is windy but dry. We keep plodding on, trusting in Sid's navigation. Okay when the sun is out, but so much of our walking now is in thick bush and we rely on compass bearings. There are no hills free of bush we can climb and get a good sight of where we are going or where we have been. We keep plunging on into thick bush, uphill and down dale, under logs, over logs. Packs forever catching on branches, yet we still make progress towards Kiwi Lake. It should go to the left.
Yeah, no, right, to my left.
Oh, you've tried that same thing again, Sid. We did break out onto the tops in the tundra type stuff. Reasonable, easy walking. We did notice this on the maps, but did not know what it would be like to walk on. Some advisors thought it was all knee-deep sphagnum moss swamp, but we found it good walking, albeit pretty wet. We stumbled across and disturbed a southern skua off its nest. It was blowing like fury at this time, and the bird was using all its aviation skills trying to come into land and protect its eggs. We all found it pretty special to witness this bird and its nesting site in such a remote area. Not another bird about that we could see. We keep walking towards Lake Kiwi. Our good tundra walking has vanished now, and we're into bushwhacking again. Every step is slippery wet, obscured by ferns. Every second step, it seems, has a hidden branch lying across the path, ready to trip you. There is a multitude of fallen timber trunks and limbs covered in about 4 inches of water-saturated moss. Funny, but there appears to be no level ground where we can pitch our tents in the whole of Fiordland, so we make do with a rugged patch of ground we think we can shape into a reasonable site. Same as last night, it's like pitching your tent on some swamp. Same ritual, cutting ferns and small scrub to put down to keep tents out of the water. Still blowing but dry. Break camp in good time shortly after 7 a.m. Sid found the bank looking down on the Kiwi far below. It was certainly steep, but well clad in bush. We scrambled, tripped and fell, changed route but never had to turn back. Found and negotiated a creek right to the mouth of the Kiwi Lake.
Well, that was a wee adventure, Laurie.
Kiwi Lake, it's a mission to be here.
Bit of an adventure.
What a ripper of a lake. You know, bit of a tough creek, a bit of a tough descent, but worked okay, you know. We all got down without breaking our limbs or anything like that. What a great place to be, sitting beside a tranquil lake, lunch spread out on a log, unusual lack of sandflies, billy boiling. What a life after the battle we had just been through. Our good fortune did not end there. We found a log over the Kiwi Burn River, just where it leaves the lake. Sid had to make a few alterations with his trusty fold-up saw, and we were crossed with dry feet. The alternative would have been water up to our armpits, so we were all pretty chuffed. The going now is downstream on pretty flat, easy going. We find the spur that Sid has marked on the map, and up we head towards the Graceburn. Quite a long, steep climb out, but easy enough going. We get through a shallow saddle and drop into the Graceburn, then follow the Graceburn upstream as the stream turns onto an easterly direction. The bush gets harder to negotiate, and we are pushing, heaving and climbing. Eventually we come out onto a drier ridge with vegetation giving way to scrubby manuka.
Camp number 3 on the top of some godforsaken windswept ridge. About 45 knots of westerly blowing.
Day 4, and there, right in front of us, is the old telephone line. Number 8 wire on the ground and the odd cup still screwed into an old dead tree stump. Well, the stump being about 12 feet high. We were blown away. How those early guys accomplished a feat like that. Probably over 100 miles of telephone wire, beggars belief. They didn't have chainsaws, could not get a pack horse anywhere near this wild section. An unexpected good bit of travelling we've had this morning, Blue. Left the hut, it must have been about 7:45, I reckon.
Did you have a hut sleep?
Sid led us right down to just below a beautiful waterfall in the Fredburn, not marked on any of the maps we have. From here we walked downstream as the river at this point is flowing almost due east. We carried on in and out of the water, up and down on the banks in reasonable going, considering. Note that the big old rata trees grow out almost horizontal across the river on both sides, almost obscuring the river from above. It does not matter getting wet feet, as they are always saturated. Indeed, it is good to wash the mud off. After hours of serious bush bashing, we come out right on target at the forks of the Cavendish River. The river carried a lot of water, but pretty easy crossing. It would have been a real barrier if there was heavy rain. So we crossed both tributaries and set up camp again on soggy ground. We now think we are well placed to reach Westie's hut tomorrow. On our phone map, if you squeeze it down, it doesn't look far at all. Blue won't let us sleep in even if we tried. We are on the track at 7, with tails high, heading for Westie's hut. Next thing, we are back under the telephone line.
I marvel at those guys that had the sheer audacity to give this thing a try.
You know, they're very laugh at the bloody and slave on it.
We all have the crossing of Big River on our minds. We make for the saddle looking down onto Lake Hakapoa, up and over the saddle and down to the lake in good style. From here we found it easier to walk in the water on the edge of the lake than in the bush, so it was 2.5 kilometres walk in the water again, with the old rata trees sticking out horizontal, pushing us deeper into the water.
I'm bloody pleased to have made it this far, but we've still got a wee way to go yet. Got to cross the big river and into Westie's hut. Destination tonight.
Down the beach.
Eventually we reached the outlet of the lake, called Big River, at about 2:30 p.m. We pounced on our hidden provisions and had a good hearty lunch on the beach in the sun. What a place to be. We had life jackets and an old car in the tube to help us across Big River, should it be carrying a lot of water, but considered we did not need them and left them in a barrel in the scrub near the river. Mariner Blue knew and timed our arrival to coincide with the low tide. We crossed not far from the ocean. Blue was first, with the water up to his neck. With a bit of fast stepping, made it across. We took a more gentle approach, but the water was still up to our armpits. That's it, we thought. Now just an easy run to Westie's hut. But that proved more difficult than we imagined, and it appeared that we were back in the middle of nowhere bush bashing again, eventually finding the marked track and the turn off to Westie's, with the sign saying Westie's hut 10 minutes. Probably took us longer, as I think this day turned out to be the longest so far in distance travelled anyway. It was quite a steep scramble down to Westie's hut. Somebody had fixed ropes in places. The two-roomed hut is situated in a large cave, with the sea just metres away. It has a pot-bellied stove and plenty of firewood, has 6 bunks and good mattresses, quite a few basic supplies, even has sandfly screen on some windows and a can of black flag fly spray in each hut. We felt quite important. We were sitting in the hut when there is a loud screech at the door. We leapt to our feet and outside saw a crested Fiordland penguin. He knew he had attracted our attention, then decided to waddle off through one of the exit caves. Packs on backs yet again, and off down the marked trail. It is seldom used, unkept, overgrown, with a lot of trees down, and muddy, muddy, muddy. It is marked as 12 miles on the map, but we all reckon it was a long 12 mile. We pulled into Dock Hut at Waitutu River, a good sound 14 bunk with cold running water over the sink, sandflies the size of cats, well, almost, good stove and dry wood. What more could you wish for? Day 8, 27. Back on the track, shortly after 7 a.m. Rain during the night and all day, making the track over the boot tops in mud and water. We were pleased to pull into the Wairaurahiri Hut at around 2:30 p.m. Got a good fire going and settled down to rest. Saw our first other travellers, a school group of about 14 doing their Duke of Edinburgh award thing. The Wairaurahiri River begins from Lake Hiroko, New Zealand's deepest lake. It is fast-flowing river, going faster than normal with the recent rain. On the go again, usual time. Walked for about 2 kilometres and then onto the old logging rail line, which was much easier walking, mainly on old sleepers, still embedded in the ground, but care has to be taken as the metal spikes are still sticking out of the wood. Crossed over the viaducts, the Percy burn being the largest. These are incredible feats of construction made of heavy Australian hardwood, some being 35 metres above the river. Had lunch here and on to Port Craig, just over 7 kilometres away. Pulled into Port Craig about 2 p.m. Met up with Paul Clements and his mate Alan. They are caretaking the hut and area, have been there for over a week. The hut they are staying in was the old schoolhouse they used in the heyday of the mill. Paul was kind enough to show us around the area and the old artefacts he is restoring. What a great job he is doing. Hours and hours of hard work he has put in. Paul told us he also put a lot of work into the landing shed where we started our trip. Even the good old trusty pot-bellied stove we were so pleased to be able to use.
Well, 100 men, so the wheels, when they're running along the line, obviously the wheels are going with the line, but when they got to where they wanted to go, they'd cut a piece out of the bank, lay some temporary rails, jack this up, turn the turntable round, push it off the side so they had the main track back.
Right.
Load the trains.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. copy of the original plate. Somebody's hacked pieces off it.
Yes, I see that. Yeah.
I don't know what that's all about. That was the wharf,
Oh yeah.
and this extended right along the coast that way and this way. It was just flat.
Yeah.
You know, they had to, and straight onto the wharf, of course.
So this is where the timber was stored.
Sorted and stored. Yeah. We tried to keep it sort of, give an idea of what was going on.
Right. So that's the border to it, but I think timber over.
The story about this is that when I arrived here, all that was sticking out of the ground was two wheels on the other side,
Oh yeah.
completely, almost upside down. So 3 weeks over 3 years, we dug a hole and we started jacking. And here we are today.
And so this was the frame on the end.
Yeah. Got two arms out the front here, and a little boiler like a 44 gallon drum type boiler on the back. And it's just like packets of timber and what they need to do. So these wheels run along the wharf, the other ones run on the rail. It could drive itself along.
Yeah.
Just the wheels to stop it tipping over.
And that would have been a break in
These
these.
wagons,
Yeah.
and this one tipped frontwards. This one here tipped sideways. Tip it either way. Oh, that's
Yeah.
around the corner, they had a steam frame engine. They go they would just use a timber jack to tip it over.
Dale Green flew in to take them out. He was kind enough to come back and pick us up as well. Suddenly we were back in Tuatapere, stayed the night at the Backpackers, showered up and home the next day. What a trip. Everyone well pleased with the effort. Blue did a great job picking the window of weather for our trip. The first day was a bit of drizzle with a short burst of hail, then good weather where it counted. Then only one day of rain while we were walking between huts on marked track. When we got home, the weather became very unsettled and just bad weather rolling off the Southern Ocean for days and weeks on end.